Hi, I'm Thomas Mohbat from Iliki Music Productions in Hilo, Hawaii. Aloha. I'm here today to show you how to get the most out of your Tascam Portacapture X8. I'm in my office today. I decided to get out of the studio for a little bit to go over a new device I just got. I'm not trying to hide the fact that I'm in my office. It's not a sound studio like I'm usually in. I've got the window open for some fresh air, which is kind of nice. You can see it's a beautiful day here in Hawaii. Kilauea Avenue in the background. It's going to be a little bit noisy this time of day, but bear with me. There's chickens and roosters and dogs and all kinds of wildlife around here, so that's part of the experience I wanted to bring to you. You probably can't see in the background because of the clouds, but usually we get a view of Mauna Kea from this window, which is kind of nice. Anyway, this is just my humble office. I've got a whole bunch of gear laid out in front of me here today that all attaches to the Tascam Portacapture X8, which is the device I want to go over with you today. I picked it up because I wanted to get something more professional than in-camera sound for my video productions. I do a lot of independent video stuff, obviously YouTube. I do some concerts, special events. I don't really do weddings, but this would be great for that as well. Any kind of video production you're into, if you're tired of just counting on your inboard, your camera's recorder for that audio, those preamps in cameras aren't usually the greatest. They've come a long way, and the line that I use in the Panasonic cameras is pretty good, but nothing compared to what you can get with a professional audio device, obviously. So the professional way to do it is to record your audio onto a field recorder and then sync it up later with your video in post-production, which is pretty easy to do even without Timecode. Something I'll talk about a little bit. I'm not going to go too much into every little single feature of this device today. There's a lot of videos online about the Portacapture. So if you want to find out more about it, go there. We'll go into some of the apps and some of the details about it, but really what I'm going to show you today is some of the ways that I've found to get the most out of it with attachments, wires, connectors, various microphone configurations, things like that. So I'm trying to cover some ground that nobody else is here, but I will go into a few of the details for people that are just arriving on this platform, for people that are new to it. We might have a few interruptions from Miss Daisy, my little kitty. This is usually her room, so she might come and go as she pleases to oversee the production today. But as you can see, I've got a lot of stuff laid out in front of me. I've probably spent more on all these connectors than I have on the device itself. It's one of the main reasons I like the Tascam. I was looking around at all the different 32-bit float recorders, and there's not that many of them. There's some from Zoom. There's a few from sound devices, some very high-end pro stuff, and then of course Tascam coming in at 32. But 32-bit float is kind of a new thing. It's been around for a few years, but people are just starting to really use it in their video productions. It's really nice because you don't have to worry about going over. If you've got a really loud signal, it's not going to destroy your recording with distortion. 32-bit float allows you to recapture or bring down the volume level in post-production and retain all that high volume information. If you record it too soft, you can always bring that up as well. Your noise floor is very low with these devices. They're really quiet preamps. That being said, if you've got a noise floor in the room that is an air conditioner or a fan or street traffic, anything like that, when you bring up that noise floor, you'll be bringing that stuff up too. So it's not perfect, but there's no substitute for getting a good recording level. Taking a few minutes when you're setting up to adjust your volume levels, your input gain. But with that said, once you're rolling, if you're busy shooting video, you don't have to worry about that audio level as much as you did with the 16 and the 24-bit recordings, which is really nice and one of the main reasons I got it. Because there's nothing worse than a perfect recording than somebody claps their hands, or there's a loud laugh or something like that in the room and everything distorts, or somebody maybe turns on some loud music and that distorts and it kind of ruins your audio. And of course, without the audio, you can't do much with the video, right? So that's enough said about 32-bit float. I'm not going to go into that too much either. There's plenty of videos on that online. What I wanted to get into right away, before I get into all my attachments and tips I'm going to go over some of the basic features of the Tascam. This will not be an all-inclusive video, but I do want to cover some of the apps and features. Portacapture X8 is a high-resolution adaptive multi-recorder. It comes in at a price point at $400 or so right now. When they first came out, it was about $500, and they have brought that price down to about $400 in today's prices. If you look at it, you could probably find them used at this point for a bit less, but for a machine like this, I'd go ahead and spend the extra money and get something brand new. You never know quite what you're going to get with used devices, especially electronics. So maybe go ahead and buy a new one. I like the price point on it, $400. There's a few other devices out there. There's a new one that came out from Tascam. It's the Portacapture X8 for about $300. So you can shave off about $100, which is nice. It's only a 4-track recorder though, as opposed to a 6-track recorder. So you only get 2 microphone inputs. I really like having 4, but if you only need 2, that could save you $100. But honestly, for $100 more, you can get 4 XLR inputs. What's also really nice about these is that it has the 1/4-inch input as well as the XLR. The new X6 does not. That's kind of a big deal for me because I like to plug my lavalier 1/4 inches into here, and I'll show you that in a little bit. You can't do that with the X6. They just use regular XLR adapters, so that's kind of a bummer. I wish they hadn't done that, but they did. Anyway, otherwise most of the features on that are pretty much the same. The screen is smaller, but it's basically the same device with just 2 XLR inputs. One device that I have used professionally in the field on a film shoot was the Zoom F8N Pro. I really liked using that. It was a full 8-track recorder. It fit really well in a sound bag on my hip with a boom microphone in my hand. That was great. It has a lot of features that you won't find in any Tascam products at this level. It goes for $950, almost $1,000 for that Zoom. Well worth it. It really did a great job. It had the ability to generate a SMPTE timecode, which is something you really need on film sets. It also had a multiple headphone outputs. You could send a different headphone matrix to your producers or something like that if you wanted to send a different mix to them. In Video Village, you could also send a separate mix to your boom operator if you had a boom man assisting you. You could talk to him directly in his headphones with an on-built microphone. The thing was really nice, and I will plan on purchasing one of those in the future, but $1,000 was out of my price range right now. I just wanted something basic and quick that I could use, throw it in my gig bag and go, and not have to bring a whole sound bag and all that. But anyway, that's the Zoom F8N Pro. I highly recommend it if you've got that kind of money. They also make, in addition to the F8, they make an F6, which is kind of like what Tascam did. It's a 6 XLR inputs instead of an 8. It goes for about $650. So that's significantly less than $950. So if you only need 6 tracks, that might be a good alternative for you if you don't think you need a full 8 tracks. If it were me, I plan to go ahead and purchase the 8-track though, the F8-9 Pro. Not to be confused with the F8, their earlier model, but the F8-9 Pro is a great filmmaker's tool. Also a great multi-track recorder if you just want to go and record live concerts and stuff with about 8 microphones, so you can do that there as well. So. Another device that's out there is from a company called Sound Devices. They make very top-end gear, and if you're a professional filmmaker or you need to be on a set that has, it's requiring you to be a professional sound man all of a sudden, I would definitely recommend getting the Sound Devices. Their Mark II is out now. That's the way you want to go with that, unless you wanted to pick up an earlier version for a used version. That might be a good way you could save some money. But if it were me, I would go with the Sound Devices Mark II line of stuff. They basically got 3 different entries: the Mix Pre 3, the Mix Pre 6, and the Mix Pre 10. And those are all pretty self-explanatory. They're all really good quality, very good quality field recorders. The Mix Pre 3, as the name describes, has 3 XLR inputs, so you can have 3 microphones plugged into it, for about $895. Ouch, I know that's expensive for a 3-track recorder. The Mix Pre 6 gives you an extra input. It's got 4 XLR inputs, and goes for about $1,060. I priced it online, $1,060 for the 4-track. The Mix Pre 10 is kind of their king daddy. I think there's some more professional devices up even at a higher level, but I'm going up to the Mix Pre 10 here. That is an 8-track recorder. The name implies, all these names imply that it's a 6-track, or this is a 8-track recorder with an additional 2 tracks for your mix. That's basically the way these devices are operating, at least the 6 and the 10, as well as the Tascam. They're giving you 2 channels just for your left-right mix. But you can't use those channels to record directly on. That is, you can't plug in microphones onto those extra 2 channels. It's a stereo pair for your mix down, basically, that you can send off to be listened to by producers, or it's basically an audition mix that you can send off. It's baked right into the cake. I know that's a little confusing, but anyway, the nice thing about the sound devices is that they all have built-in Timecode. I think the Mix Pre 10 has word clock as well. They've got some nice features like an automatic USB backup in addition to recording to the sound card. It also records a safety backup to a USB drive, which is really nice. If something happens to your sound card, you do have a backup there. It's not something you're going to find in the Tascam. I think the Zoom, as I recall, had 2 little drives in it. I think the Zoom had a couple of these guys in it for a backup, so you could have one for you and one for the to hand off to the producer or the DP, whatever. This does not. This you want to be careful with, because if something happens to this or the chip inside, there's no backup. So that's something to be aware of. Again, if you're a professional film sound operator, go with the sound devices. I felt pretty comfortable with the Zoom F8N Pro. That seemed to be doing a pretty good job there for the money. They're almost half as much as the sound devices. But again, the sound devices are going to be a much sturdier, more robust device. There's kind of a snob factor with that as well. A lot of filmmakers kind of look to see if you've got a sound devices, and if you don't, if you've got a Tascam or a Zoom, they're kind of going to develop an opinion on that. But also the preamps on the sound devices are very high quality. I think it's about as good a quality of preamp as you're going to get in a field recorder. So nothing wrong with the preamps and the Tascams or the Zoom devices, but I do think the sound devices are going to sound a little bit better. But will anybody really be able to tell? I mean, in a mix with music and other dialogue, and who's going to be able to tell that? Anyway, enough said about those other devices. You can kind of see the price range I was up against, and really for the money, the Tascam was blowing the competition away. I mean, you can't touch it. Zoom recently offered a new device that I think it just came out called the R4, and it's only $200. It's a 32-bit recorder. It's not really going to do as much as these are for a field recorder, but for musicians, it looked really nice. It reminded me of the old Portastudios that we had back in the 70s and the 80s. Which is one of the things Tascam got famous for, was their Portastudios. It was a cassette-based recorder that you could use as a multi-track and record 4 tracks on, but you could also bounce back and forth between tracks, so you could layer up your recordings and kind of create these little home studio demos, and musicians loved it. They were everywhere. They were really great little devices. The only problem with them was that they were a cassette-based recording. If anybody remembers cassettes, and cassettes were very noisy. So when you started recording and bouncing, every time you bounced, you would get another layer of that cassette noise, and it would just build up and build up. So if you bounced 3 or 4 or 5 times, by the end of your recording, it was like a whole wall of hiss. It was just too much. But now, of course, with digital recording, and certainly the 32-bit float recording, there is no noise. So I haven't checked out the Zoom R4, but it looked really enticing, especially for $200. It's just a little teeny 4-track recorder, but the nicest thing about it, and something that I haven't seen in any of these other devices, is that it allows you to bounce. and it allows you to bounce repeatedly. So you could keep on bouncing to the same stereo mix, if I'm not mistaken, and keep on adding tracks as you recorded them. And it looked like you could do that pretty indefinitely, and you're not going to add any noise. So it's something I'm definitely going to take a look at for home recordists. For field recording, though, I don't think that's going to be the device you need to get. I believe it only had 2 inputs, not a lot of features, but you know, a great price point. But back to my point, for the $400 price tag on the Portacapture X8, I think you're going to find that that's probably the best price for something of its kind. Zoom offers some competition, but as you can see, the prices were not quite where I wanted to be with the Tascam. Boy, it's a beautiful day in Hawaii. I'm really glad to be upstairs out of the studio. It's such a nice place to live. If you ever get a chance to visit here, give me a call. Let's go make a film or do a recording together. I live here. Hilo's a really fun town to hang out in too. Not too expensive as compared to Oahu. One of the other things I liked about Tascam is that they've been around for a long time. They started under TIAC back in the 70s. It was a Japanese company, and I think out of Tokyo, and they came up with Tascam as their pro audio division, and they introduced themselves. I believe their first product, or one of their earliest products at least, was the Portastudio, which I mentioned, and that really just was the first device ever to allow musicians to record at home. Before that, you had to go to the studio, and it was and still is a very expensive thing to do, but this allowed musicians not only to record at home, but to start doing engineering. It allowed them to get familiar with the recording process, with the basics of EQ, things like that. Really basic devices. I'll probably make a video just on the Portastudios that were available back then. It's a fascinating device, and I used them for some of my very earliest recordings. Tascam had been around for a long time. They took off, and now they're, I think Gibson purchased a major share of their company. I think Gibson has controlling interest in the Gibson Guitar Company. I think they're involved with that now. But Tascam is still kicking it. 50 years later, they're still coming up with the devices. Zoom has not been around that long. Zoom is a pretty new kid on the block. They're doing a great job. Nothing against Zoom. I love Zoom products. Tascam, the name just goes way back with me, and I feel really good about the quality of their preamps. Their build quality is quite good. Although this is pretty much all made of plastic, it feels pretty durable. But saying that, if you do drop it on some rocks or drop it into the ocean or something like that, it's not quite as bad as dropping a sound devices. If you drop your sound devices gig bag in the ocean, that's going to really hurt. I mean, this is a $400 mistake, but it's only $400. It's not, what did I say, $1,800 or something like that. If you lose it, you can go to Amazon and order another one, and it'll be there within 48 hours, and you can get back to your work. You will lose the recording from that day in the bottom of the ocean. The chip will sync with the ship, but it's not that an expensive device to break or lose. I mean, worst case scenario, it gets destroyed, you're out $400. That's not the worst thing. It's not as bad as dropping your laptop into the ocean or off a mountainside or wherever you happen to be recording. So that's kind of nice about it. I take pretty good care of it. Unfortunately, Tascam does not give you all the accoutrements that they used to with some of their earlier devices. They basically just give you this. I don't think it came with a sound chip. Nothing that came with this. No windscreen, no stand. Nothing came with it. So you got to buy a bunch of stuff as well. It's pretty well made. You know, I feel pretty good about it. I guess I would be most concerned if I dropped it and the screen cracked, because without the screen, you can't really do much with it. But I guess that's true with most devices these days. You're pretty reliant on that user screen, that user interface. Tascam did such a great job for so many years with their recorders. You would think that they would really have it down by now, but they really missed the boat on a lot of details with this device. Not the least of which is that despite their advertising, that they're trying to build this to they're trying to structure this so the musicians purchase it. It's not a Portastudio. I'm sorry. They're trying to sell it to people to make home recordings, but it only goes so far. I mean, it makes great home recordings, but there's some features in here like overdub and punching in and mix down that make it imply that you can record a multi-track project with this and even edit and mix with it. Well, you can't edit at all with it, really, besides maybe overdubbing. The overdub feature is a little bit strange. I haven't even really delved into it too much because it's just kind of weird. And I didn't even know what the mix down thing. There's a feature in here called mix down. I got to look more into it, but suffice it to say that I'm not buying this for a multi-track recorder. I've got a recording studio right here, and there are other field recorders and better ways to do that. You'd probably be better off bringing a laptop for a serious multi-track recording. So Tascam's trying to gear this towards musicians, but don't be fooled. It's great for capturing your recordings. It makes great quality recordings, but don't think that you're going to be able to multi-track with this. You're just not. I mean, the mixer is really teeny. There's little reverbs and stuff with it, but it's kind of Mickey Mouse, really. So I wish Tascam would try to not cater this project to multi-track recording enthusiasts and just focus on what it really is, which is a capture device, like the name implies. They could really do well if they got away from trying to make it an all-in-one unit and just focus on the strong abilities of this as a field recorder. Maybe get rid of some of those other things and maybe give us a little basic time code or something like that. There's some other features I'll go over here that I wish they would address a little bit more carefully. The playback and the audition for file structure is really poor. When I'm recording with a film crew, often the producer or the director will come up and want to hear a playback of the boom microphone that I just recorded. Or if there's a problem and I address it, I might need to show it to them. They might want to come over and listen to the problem to see if they can, if it's acceptable, or if there's a workaround, or if they need to do another take. Because obviously doing another take is kind of a big deal for sometimes if it's just for a sound problem. But so the ability to quickly pull up the last recording you did, or a earlier recording, or a few recordings, and go through them and find the problem or the one they want to use, should be something that I think Tascam should have really focused on as their playback device. They did not. Browsing through a big list of takes is cumbersome, and it's just not very intuitive. It's not a very good way to go through quickly and play back sound files without really an in-depth search. There's no nice large speaker on this. I'll show you one of the earlier ones there is, but the little speaker right here is, I thought it was a microphone, but that's the speaker, that little teeny hole. That's it. That's the speaker. It used to be larger and on the top of the unit, and it played a lot louder. This is really just barely a speaker at all. So for playback, you need to plug this into an external speaker to be able to hear back anything at all, really. Unless you hold it up to your ear like that, like a cell phone, I guess you could do that, but pretty unprofessional. The main thing that Tascam dropped the ball on is these little guys. This is the microphones that come with the unit. They're detachable, which is nice. The problem is they're really cheap, and I'm not going to go too into that either. It's one of the first things that most people are saying about this unit is that the microphones are extremely cheap, and they are. So they're almost, I think they're all plastic. They look chrome or metal, but they're not. Tascam is not in the microphone business, and they never have been. They've been using this, basically something like this, for a long time, and it's almost an afterthought. They sound okay. You know, I gotta tell you the truth. For the money, they're okay. I don't really have a problem with the sound quality of them. What I do have a problem with, besides the build and the quality of them, they really look like something you'd get in a cereal box or out of a Cracker Jack, as a prize out of a Cracker Jack box. They're that flimsy and kind of a joke. They sound okay. They're convenient. They're easy to plug in. Let me just show you that right here. The two silver discs, they don't rotate, by the way. They look like they do, but they do not. Those little silver discs indicate that those are the front. So those you basically just slip, press down, and turn. like that. Just press down and turn to lock. Not too hard. That connection is pretty easy. There's no shock absorber there. There's, you know, it's really just cramped on there. But anyway, that's your that's how I usually operate it. As you can see, that's how they show you on the box here. And that's the basic setup right there, right out of the box. You can see that's what's called an XY pattern. This little configuration here of the marks are crossed. So you can have that pointed like that and get a pretty good recording. It's picking up what's right in front of it as well as what's off to the left and right. If you do want to configure your mics in what's called an AB configuration, that's a AB configuration. And that's not just on the Tascam, that's used in for any kind of microphone you have. But that's going to give you a better, wider, not better, but a wider stereo pattern. So if you were back farther in the room for a concert recording, you might want to put them out like that. Or if you're doing a drum overhead, I've seen guys hang them upside down like that over the drum kit. That would work, as long as it's not going to fall. But honestly, I usually don't mess around with that. I usually leave them in the XY pattern, and that works really well. And like I said, the sound quality is pretty good. It's just, you can't switch these out with any other type of microphone. That's the main problem. Tascam doesn't offer a better microphone that you can use. It's not like these are the ones that come with it and then they offer for $100 a nice pair of microphones, or like Zoom did. One of the things I liked about some of the Zoom devices is they give you a nice selection of very well bit microphones that were detachable. They clipped on very securely, and they were super build. They were all metal. They felt really solid. I really liked the Zoom. They had a shotgun microphone. They had microphones like this. I think they had an Omni. I gotta look. I think they had a stereo as well. It was just amazing, the microphones that a company like Zoom, which is not a microphone company, they started off making effects and things like that, rack mount effects. I've got one. But they really did some great microphones. Tascam is not doing that. They just give you the same old mics that they gave you 10 years ago. I think it's the same design. It's not an XLR input. It's this little mini jack, the 3.5 millimeter jack that they plug into. So you know, it's not like you can plug an XLR mic in there. You're really stuck with these. Or are you? Maybe there's a way around that. Let me get to that in a little bit. But anyway, that's the way I usually do it. I like it also too because the mics aren't hanging out over the side. They're not going to get bumped from the side. This is a little bit more protected like that. So enough said about the crackerjack microphones from Tascam. The unit costs a little bit more. So be it. I would pay for microphones. I mean, obviously, I have a lot of microphones. I don't have a problem paying for microphones. I just don't want to be stuck with some cheapies like this. But with that said, it's nice that you can just pull this out of your gig bag, turn it on, and you're recording. You're recording a field recording right away, or a narration or something. It's like having a pocket camera. It's good to go right away. If I don't have a lot of time to set up external microphones, if I'm just doing a quick recording in a noisy environment, I can put this up on a tripod or something like that, hit record, and let it go, and it'll record till the cows come home. And I don't have to worry about it. But if for more serious recording projects, I'm going to show you some ways that you can get a lot more from this device than using the mics that come with it. So yeah, Tascam, I wish they would focus a little bit more on what it is than what it's not. What it's definitely not is a multi-track recorder. The name implies that it's an 8-track, X8. It seems like there should be 8 tracks to record on. Technically there are, but 2 of them, as I mentioned, are for your mix. So what it really is a 6-track recorder. That is 2 microphones on the front, 4 XLRs on the sides, and then 2 tracks to bounce down or to mix down to. That's why they call it an X8. I wish they would call it an X6. That would be a little bit more clear. But it's a 6-track recorder with a 2-track for bounce. You can't really bounce either. It's not a real bounce. You're just, as you're recording, it's also recording your mix down. So you have to kind of mix live. It doesn't have any kind of editing or a visual so that you can see the WAV files and do little cuts or splices. You can't even clean it up. There's no features like that. There's no time code built into it at all, like you get with some of the sound devices. You can purchase a Bluetooth little insert here that inserts in this little guy right here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but you pull that little door out. There's a little place for a Bluetooth remote, which allows you to use the app on your phone. Tascam has an app that you can download. The app is free, I believe, and you can operate your Tascam from your phone, which is great, and not uncommon for most devices like this to have some kind of an app, like Zoom, like sound devices. They all give you a free app, and you can connect it directly from the app to your device and operate it, which is nice because you can avoid the handling noise of this unit. Obviously, if you're touching the buttons and holding it like this with some headphones, you're going to hear every little thing you do. They're very noisy. All these devices are kind of noisy with hand and touching operations noises. So that's kind of inherent with the unit. One of the things you're going to want to be able to do right away is get yourself something like this, a little tripod that you can mount to the screw in the bottom. You just screw that on right there, and you can put that up and get the unit out of your hands, so you're not going to get all that handling noise. You're going to still hear it when you click on these buttons or touch the unit in any way. Even this makes noise, but at least once you've got the thing recording, you're not going to be holding it, which causes noise. Also, you can angle it however you want if you wanted to get it pointing in the right direction of the stage or the sound source, or just as a viewing angle so that you can see it more comfortably. If you're doing something else like holding a camera, you can kind of keep an eye on this to make sure that everything is happening there as you want it to, and that it's recording. You can keep an eye on your levels if you want, anything like that. Another nice thing about these tripods is that they do get it out of your hand so that you're able to walk around and not hold the unit. So better for recording field sounds and nature and stuff like that. You can even bend these a little bit if you wanted to get a more comfortable grip. There's lots of different grips out there, including a Rycote grip, which I've got back over here, kind of a pistol grip that works well with this. You can screw that right on to get, mainly getting it out of your hand and getting it, watching that handling noise. You can also use, this is not a Gorilla tripod, but I don't remember the company makes it. I really like this. It was cheap. I got it on Amazon, and it's just really nice because you can, once you've got that screwed on there securely, you can hook this on just about anything. You can hook it on a railing or a banister. I've wrapped it around street signs, you know, if you're out recording. If you're in a club or a bar, if there's a nice beam or something, a sign, you can hang this on that sign. And they're pretty secure. Once you get it on there, it's not going anywhere. It's not flimsy. So you can get this out of harm's way, pointing at the stage, and hit record. Make sure it's recording, then walk away. It also has a nice little attachment here if you wanted to attach any kind of an arm, or maybe you could even attach probably a microphone to that. I've never tried that. Something I'll do. But anyway, so you want to get something like this for sure, some kind of a tripod. Okay. I'm going to take that off for now, though, just for the demonstration purposes. But usually I'll have this pretty much attached to that all the time. As I mentioned, it does have some little effects in it. There's some built-in kind of cheesy reverbs that you can apply to your tone. I guess on input. I've never used them, but I always record clean. I'm not going to add reverb to a voice or something on the way in. I don't know if there's a way, once you've recorded it with that reverb, if you can take it off or if it's baked into the cake. So let me know if you guys have found any way that you like to use those effects. I'm not even going for those. I'm going to apply any kind of reverbs when I'm mixing down, and I'm not going to be mixing down in here. I'm going to be taking this back home, putting the files in my computer, loading them into my DAW, and then mixing in my DAW. The same would be said for a nonlinear editor for filmmakers. They're going to be adding any kind of post-production effects when they mix down. Certainly not on the day of recording in the field. They're not adding reverbs and stuff like that too. That's all in post. So again, these are a lot of things that Tascam has included that are not really part of what I think it should be. What it really is, and what I want to focus on here, is that it is a capture device. It is a field recorder, and it's a very good one. Let's focus on that a little bit. It is great for recording concerts, special events, sporting events, weddings, funerals, anything you want to use. You can, like I said, you can throw this in your bag, pull it out, and set it up on a quick tripod and start recording right away. It's great for field recording. I love going out with the tripod and setting it down and recording just ocean sound effects, or taking it to a forest and recording the nature, the birds, and the wind. It's really great for that kind of stuff. I'm not sure I would walk around too much with it like that. It's a little bit noisy, but once you've got that set someplace and started recording, and just step away from it, it's going to hear your footprints. I mean, if you wanted to capture any kind of Foley for film, you can record everything from a cricket, really low volume, to gunshots and explosions, very high volume, and that 32-bit range is going to cover you. It's not going to distort, which is perfect for capturing sound effects. And like I said, basic film production, if you're not at a very high level, which I'm not yet, I'm just kind of getting started as a boom operator and sound man. But if you don't have the money to go out and purchase a full field kit, it gets really expensive really quick once you start doing that. Until you're at that level where you need that stuff, I wouldn't suggest going out and purchasing that stuff, unless you're just rich. A lot of guys go out and they buy the top end stuff before they're even getting called for films. If you're getting called for films and you're getting paid, absolutely, go out and get the best you can afford. I would, but at the level that I'm at, I'm just trying to get started. I don't need to go out and purchase. What really counts is my attitude, my being there, and my attitude, and getting the job done, staying long days, listening to a team and a director, and fitting in with, that's more important than your device. I've never had somebody look in my sound bag and say, hey, what are you recording on? Is that a 32-bit? Oh, that's only the Tascam. I've never had that problem. People don't even care what you're recording on. What they're recording on is, did you get the take? And did you have a good attitude about it? That's what I'm getting. So if you can do it with this, the quality is great. You don't need to go out and purchase all that stuff right now. Just get started with this, do good work, and then the gigs will follow. Your work will speak for itself, and you'll get more calls. And hopefully the money will start coming in, and you can start affording more expensive devices. For basic filmmaking, you can do it with this. I've done 2 films now, and both times the DP and the producer said the audio is great. What I was going out and doing was recording. I took these off entirely, these microphones off entirely, and I was just operating with this as a 4-track. I was recording a boom on one channel, and then 3 lavaliers, wireless lavs that I had, which I have right here. I'm going to go into from Rode. Anyway, you can have a boom and 3 lavs, or in some cases, if I had 4 people, I would just do 4 lavaliers. You can do that too. So you can attach 4 lavs, and you still have these upfront mics if you wanted to capture an ambient of the whole environment. If you had it set up on the tripod, you had the 4 lavs coming in remote wirelessly, and you could just capture the whole scene with the stereo. That's great for capturing what's called room tone. In addition to recording the action, you can also record nice quiet room tone with those. So you call quiet on the set and get a 30 seconds or a minute of just quiet audio for the post-production team. They'll appreciate that if you've got room tone. So yeah, really good for field recording. One of the things that does not come with it that you definitely want to do is get yourself a dead cat or a windsock. This one does not. They don't give you anything like that with it like they used to. So you have to purchase something separately. I can't remember who makes this. Is this? Anyway, I purchased this on Amazon. It's nothing fancy. Way overpriced. It was like 30 bucks for this little thing. But anyway, I wanted something professional. This feels really good. It doesn't do anything fancy. It just slips right over the top like that. And you want to have that if you're using these microphones. It's pretty useless without it. There's so much wind noise with those little mics. Okay? And once you get it on there, it's not going anywhere. It's not going to come off unless you pull it off. So that, with the tripod, and you're set to go, as long as you've got some batteries in there. And I'll talk about that in a second. But that you can get really good quality field recordings with right there. And you've still got 4 microphone, XLR microphones available. So that's really nice for capturing that film set, just like that. As a matter of fact, if you are using another device, like a sound devices, like I plan to in the future, you can still use this just to capture your ambient. You could put this up and let it record and forget about it while you're off doing your boom operation and watching your lavs. So I plan to use this in the future just like that, just for recording the ambient. And I'll show you in a little bit how to put some other microphones on there. But by the way, don't make the mistake that I did and leave this lying around. Your cat will love it. Miss Daisy grabbed this and she was out in the back porch trying to kill it. They should call it a dead mouse instead of a dead cat. But yeah, it had cat spit all over it. I had to wash it. I didn't want to run it through the washer because I was afraid it would fall apart. So I just hand washed the dead mouse. All kinds of things you have to do in this business. But yeah, don't let your cats take this. They'll get cat spit all over it and you can't return it to Amazon then. It comes in a little plastic bag. I just kept the bag to throw it in. Keep that from the cat. Okay, pretty nice little device. Kind of pricey, like I said, but worth having. You got to have something. You could probably put a sock over this or some pantyhose or something like that, or build your own out of cloth. But I just bought it, so impulse buy on Amazon, right? Another thing that does not come with this is any kind of a power supply. I believe it came with a USB cable. I'm not sure, but these are not hard to find anyway. This is just a USB to USB-C cable, and that you're able to plug into the side here, and that's what they intend for you to do, is to power this with USB power. What it does come with is AA batteries. That's all. You get 4 AA batteries in the back. You can use just regular batteries from the store, which I have in here. You can also use lithium batteries, rechargeable batteries. What I do is I always just make sure that when I'm going out for the day that I have brand new batteries in there. Even if they're the ones that I have in there only half used, I'll take those out and put them in my drawer for other, like, remote controls and stuff like that. But whenever I'm going out for the day, I always put in a fresh pair of batteries. Yeah, I know I should get rechargeable batteries. It's terrible. And then you've got that ready to go. And then always carry at least 1 extra pair of extra batteries in your pouch. Even 2 sets if you're going to be out for a long time. That way, if anything really goes down, you lose your USB power for some reason, those batteries go dead, you've always got some back ones. The nice thing about it is you can probably go to just about any gas station or convenience store, Walmart, anywhere you are in the world, and buy these. And they're not cheap, but they're everywhere. So there's that. Used to the earlier device, the Tascam DR100 in the Mark II, came with a built-in lithium battery, which lasted a long time. I really liked that configuration. That lithium battery would last all day, and if it died, it would automatically kick over and use the built-in AA batteries that it had in it, so that that was kind of your backup. But the new ones don't have that lithium battery anymore. I'm not sure why they did away with that. It was super nice to have, and you didn't have to rely on external power. So without external power, you could probably operate this for about 5 or 6 hours just off those AA batteries with the screen on most of the time. If you started using phantom power for your microphones, it's going to drain it really quickly. I would bring that down to maybe a couple hours of use with phantom power on a few microphones. So not ideal for a long day of recording. What you want to look for in a recording, a film shoot, is you're going to be out there all day. Sometimes from early in the morning off until into the night, you know. So you're looking at 8 or 10 hour days. You want something that's going to be able to record that long and not have to be switching out with all kinds of batteries. Plus, it's bad for the environment. These things are terrible for the environment, I know. So recycle those responsibly, you know. Don't just throw them in the trash, in the landfill. And but the real way that this is supposed to be used is by USB power. And let's talk about that for a second. What they want you to do is get yourself an external battery like this. I picked this battery up at, I think it was a Walmart for about 80 bucks. This one's from a company called Anchor. There were several to choose from, and this was probably the most expensive one. I think it was about 80 or 90 bucks. And it looks like it's gonna, I don't know the specs on it offhand, but it looks like it's gonna last all day. I've never used it up. It takes a while to charge it, USB, but once it's charged, it stays charged for a long time. It's great when you're traveling too. If you're in airports and traveling, it's great to be able to recharge your phone, your laptop, your iPad, whatever you got. Having this handy is super nice in airports, not to worry about your phone dying. So anyway, you plug it straight into the USB power and turn it on. It takes about 8-10 seconds to power up there. You can see it's powering on. Not too long a wait. Here it comes. There we go. That's not bad at all. And right away, you're ready to record. You can see I've got 2 tracks armed there already. And that's nice if you need to record quickly. Also, just to mention on the back of this, I attached some Velcro strips. This is the soft side of the Velcro. The other side of the Velcro, I put it on my camera tripod so that I can mount this right below the camera, and it'll just stick right on the tripod. Or other things, anything you want to mount Velcro to, you can do that too. That's going to be indicated up at the top here. It switches from battery power to USB power. As soon as you click that in, and it'll give those batteries a break. If this dies or gets unplugged, it will kick over to the batteries automatically, and you do not stop recording. So that is nice, that it gives you that redundancy. But most of the time when I'm in the field, that's going to be how I use that. This is going to be in my gig bag, my sound bag, and this is going to be at the bottom of the bag. Okay, I'll show you that near the end of this video. So there you're powered for nice long record shoots like that. So keep that in mind when you're looking at the purchase price of $400. You're going to have to spend another $100 for your battery to power that. And you know, some of these are about, I think a large package of double A's costs about $15 for a large pack. So you can get a big pack of those for 15 or 20 bucks. And then a battery, a rechargeable battery, USB battery for, so you're looking at about $500 all in. If you throw in the tripod, probably another 30 or 40 bucks, right? 50 if you've got something nice. So there's the bare essentials right there. Oh, I forgot the dead mouse. That's the basic kit right there. So, you know, about 500 and some change for that. And what I will do is just keep the little, these are little bags that came with the Tascam unit, and I just kept those, little bubble wrap. And I don't store those with the unit. I actually only attach these when I need them, and I keep them separate in those little bags like that. Because they're really delicate. If you sat on these, it's going to break them. If you drop them, they're going to crack. Unless they're just so lightweight that they won't crack. I've never damaged them yet, but just keep them in your bag. But that, as you see, that really cuts down on the size of this, and I like that a lot better. Nothing's going to happen there. That's pretty. That connection right there, I got to say, is pretty solid. That's kind of a hardish plastic. Nothing's going to happen up there if you drop it, I don't think. I'm more concerned about the screen. So that really cuts down on the size. The other thing that you can do is, let me unplug this battery. And what they also allow you to do is you don't have to use a battery. You can use a USB cable like this. Instead of going to a battery, you can go to basically a phone charger, a USB charger that plugs into the wall. And this is dirt cheap. I like this because that flips down. But anyway, you can pick, I don't remember where I got that, but anyway, pick one of those and you can plug this into any power supply. And then you're not worried about your batteries at all. You can let that thing go all day, which is what I'm about to do now. One of the other things that you should have in your sound bag is just a basic household extension cord, 8 or 10 feet long, whatever you need. You don't need a 50-footer at this point. This is just a little appliance. I like it because you can it doesn't take up much space in your bag. I think this is an 8-footer. And you just plug that straight in. Okay. And then you can see it kicked over to USB power, I think. Yeah, USB power is on. And then you don't have to think about that at all. Put that out of the way. All these little things you need to make this device really operate. Okay. And for the rest of the demonstration, I'm just going to leave it plugged in like that so that I'm not draining any kind of batteries. All right. So that covers power, I think. Several different ways you can operate using AA batteries, USB battery, or just plugging the thing straight into a wall. There are other battery types that you could adapt to use this as well. As long as it gets to a USB-C, you are good to go. Here's one of the other things I should mention about this. The recording medium is not a cassette anymore. It's a micro SD card, and that micro card is right here. You turn off the unit before you remove the chip. Once that's off, I think it's okay to have the power still plugged in as long as you have it turned off. That little door opens up with your thumbnail, and it's hard to get to with that USB attached. So let me just take that off for a second. It's really tiny. Don't break that off in there because I don't know if you could get that out. You'd probably have to send it back. But yeah, to get that in and out, just press with your fingernail and remove it like that. Okay, if you've got really stubby fingers, sort of like mine, or even stubbier, you might want to get yourself a little pair of tweezers. And then you press on it, and you can carefully grab that with your tweezers. Okay? Okay. Once it's in there, it's pretty secure and obviously takes up less space than a regular size SD card. The problem with that is that you have to have one of these guys. This looks like an SD card. It's a SD card reader, and what that's designed to do is to be able to pop it out. Whoops. Very carefully stick that in there, click it in, and then you can stick that in your computer or card reader, whatever you're using. So you know, whenever you're transferring files, you can't stick that in your computer. You have to have one of these, and if you lose that, you can't transfer your files. I suppose you could do it over your USB connection. You could do a USB output into your computer and transfer them that way. But my work protocol is to just remove the chip from whatever camera or audio device I have, and then stick that straight into my laptop or computer for file transfer. So don't lose your little adapter. These are not hard to find, but it'd be kind of a pain in the ass to track one down when you're ready to start editing or something like that. So anyway, it's come a long way from cassette decks. I will give you that, Tascam. So I sort of wish that it was just a regular SD card instead of the micro. I get it. They're trying to save space and money. It's amazing that this is a 256 gigabyte SanDisk Extreme. They're not cheap, but 256 gigabytes is insane. We used to pay a lot for 1 gigabyte on the old Jazz drives. I don't know if anybody remembers the Jazz drives, but yeah, 1 gigabyte costs a few $100. And now you've got 256 bucks. I think a chip like this costs about 30 or so, but anyway, just stick that in there. Don't break it, guys. That's going to be a real shame if you do that. Just take that in and out carefully. If you're being really cautious, I would say have a backup to if something happens to your chip, if there's an error in the field. You don't want to end the recording day because of that. You want to have a backup chip. Even one with less storage would at least get you through the next few hours until you can somehow get to a Walmart or something and find another microchip. So that's the storage. One little thing I did notice, a little flaw, is that on the bottom there are these little rubber feet, which are nice to keep it from slipping around too much. They give you a little bit of a grip. But for some reason, the adhesive they used isn't very good. Or at least it deteriorated when it came to Hawaii. The little rubber mustache that comes on the back here, yes, it came unglued. So I glued it back on with some Gorilla Glue, and that didn't hold. So I guess some super glue, I'm going to have to glue that back on there. And once it's on there, it's really nice. It doesn't slip around as much. It's pretty secure on smooth surfaces. But just be aware that maybe it's just the humidity in Hawaii, I don't know. But that's probably going to come off, and try not to lose it. The same true as these little guys. They don't come off as easily, but be aware of that. There is a 1/4-inch screw on the bottom, and that is good for any kind of mount you have. There's also a cold shoe mount, and I wanted to talk about this for a second because I have seen in their promotional videos guys walking around with a camera, and then they've got this mounted to the top of the camera on the cold shoe. Those cold shoes are meant for a little device like a small lightweight flash, or perhaps a very small microphone, something like that. As soon as you start putting anything heavier up there, like a larger microphone or a larger light, you're pushing the risk of something happening to your camera. If something happens and that mic gets hit, it's not only going to pop the mic off the camera, but it's probably going to break that cold shoe on your camera. And then you've got to send it back for repair, depending on the damage. So I don't recommend mounting anything heavy to that hot shoe or that cold shoe on the top of your camera. Keep in mind that's what it's for. What I'll use that typically for is to mount a little Rode microphone or a clip-on receiver like this. That's a great thing to mount there. You've got your audio levels right there. It's super lightweight. That's not gonna get bumped or broken off. Or maybe a small lightweight shotgun microphone, or like the one I'm using here, the Rode video mic with a little shock mount. Those are very lightweight, and you can get away with mounting that to the top of your camera. But even that, I'm leery of mounting straight to the camera, because if anything happens to that mount, your camera's gone, not just the device. So something like this, I certainly wouldn't mount to my camera. It's pretty heavy, you know, compared to, it's not meant to mount to the top of your camera, guys. So don't be fooled by the promotional material you might see, that you can just walk around with your little teeny vlogging camera and capture audio like you can't. You're gonna, as soon as you do anything to that, it's gonna break your camera. So please don't mount that to that cold shoe mount. You could do other things with this, I guess. You could mount a little microphone to it, get creative like that. That's just a little Rode. That's nice because it's wireless. I can beam that mono signal back to one of the channels of my receiver back at the camera, and boom, I've replaced one of the two microphones up here right away. Whatever you want to mount to that, you could even mount a little video light. There's lots of things you could mount to that, but don't make it your camera.
That's very good.
One of the other little attachments on here, and I don't know if you can see, is these are little attachments for a strap right there and there. And I have not done that, but you could use a camera strap or something like that, or even a piece of something homemade, and attach a strap to this like that. And that means you could go around with it strapped to something like this. It's going to hang inverted, which I suppose is pretty good. And I don't do that though. I'm not gonna carry it around like that. It's going to be swinging and jostling like that. It's not a great way to carry your unit around. I suppose if you were using if you were carrying it around like that, or with some kind of a holder, that you could mount it to a wrist strap that might be a nice safety to have a wrist strap on there. But I wouldn't mount it on your hip or up here or anything like that. You're just asking for trouble. And I don't know how solid these are either. I've never even, so I just forget about them. In addition to the USB input and the micro SD, you've got the on-off switch. You just hold it down to power it on or off, and you hold it for a second, then release. Okay. It also has what's called a hold switch, which should just be called lock. And all that does is that when you are when you have it turned on, you can obviously move around like this and do anything you want. If you switch that hold switch or lock switch on, it doesn't let you do anything. Hold on is all you'll be able to see, and it goes away. So you can't switch screens, you can't arm tracks. It doesn't, it just locks the whole device, which is nice if you've set it to record a concert and then you're going to go do video work or something like that. You can start recording, turn on hold, lock, and then walk away. And you don't have to worry about someone coming up and touching the device or turning off the record, or even yourself. You don't have to worry about you inadvertently doing something stupid like I've done many times. Once that hold switch is on, it's locked. You need to worry more about somebody stealing the device or knocking it over than you do about somebody adjusting the levels. But you might have a new sound man, somebody that you ask to keep an eye on it, you know, just so it doesn't walk out the door. But you don't really want them adjusting anything, but they might feel fidgety and want to go over there and do something. You can just keep them from doing that by having that lock on. To turn it on, to turn it off, you just click it back. Be careful when you click it back that you don't go and turn off the unit. But you have, like I said, you have to hold it for a few seconds there to turn it off. So that's pretty good right there. Flipping it over, you've got an external input, a line output that are indicated there to be used with your camera. You can run a line from this device out into the input of your camera. If you wanted to record audio straight into your camera for a good backup, you could do that. It would probably sound better than the audio captured with the onboard microphone on your camera for scratch audio. Okay, you're getting direct audio from this instead of from the room, which might be nice. It also serves as a backup plan in case anything happens to this device. You do have decent audio baked into your camera's footage as well. So that's a nice idea if your recorder is near the camera. But if not, if you're somewhere else, there's obviously no way that you can do that unless you read up a wireless situation. But anyway, that's nice if you've got it right close to your camera, just not mounted to the top of your camera, and you can run a line out into the line input on your stereo line input on your camera. You need to check, depending on your camera, it might be you need to check the line level to make sure that that's matched up with your camera. With my Panasonic cameras, I don't have to worry about that. It just goes in and the level's good right away. But with other cameras, you might have to switch it over to a line level output or a mic level output, depending on your camera. And that's something you can do in the setup menu here. The line out I use more often. That's something that you can run out to a mixing board or another sound recorder, something like that. You could do a line out to a PA system. So that you're hearing the device, stuff like that. So, or you can run it in and out of your camera. You can have, if you wanted to, you could run the outputs from your camera, the headphone outputs, straight into the line input. I don't know exactly why you want to do that, but you could if you wanted to and from your camera. And then below, next to that, there is a very unobtrusive looking headphone input right there. And I marked that with a little dot so that I can see it more clearly, because it's hard to find in dark situations. You're more apt to plug your headphones into one of the line ins or outs, and so I marked that there just so I can see it clearly for my headphone inputs. And then there's the volume level, which adjusts the headphone volume as well. That also adjusts the output to the little speaker. So if you wanted to turn the speaker down, you could, or turn the speaker up, which is near impossible to hear anyway. On the back, you've got, in addition to the slot there for the remote chip, you've also got a little peak indicator right there. And on this side, you've got a recording indicator right there, and those are, the peak will blink red when you peaked, and the record is solid red when you are recording, so you can easily see that that is recording. There's also indicators up on the top here to show that you're recording, but that's easy to see in a gig bag. If you've got that face down, you'll see that you're recording, or you can also see it if it's peaking. The XLR inputs, they're very good quality. These are not new trick connectors like some of the XLR connectors that Tascam has used, like on the X6. These are made by a company called Zui. I don't know too much about that. It sounds Chinese. They seem to be very good quality, Zui. And again, those are 1/4 inch or XLR inputs, which is great on all 4 of them. 2 on this side and 2 on this side. They're nice because they've got a nice solid push lock connector, so they're not going to pull out of your camera. I've noticed that on other devices that there's no lock and they can easily come out, which is not something you want when you're in the field or ever. I think that's the only metal on this, except for the screw on the back. Those are made of solid metal, and those seem real solid locks. The front, there are no locks. Those are not XLR, as I mentioned. The only thing that locks on there are the Cracker Jack microphones that come with it. And I think that covers all the ins and outs of the device. I think there's an indicator when it's attached to the remote. I think it goes blue on the peak indicator, if I'm not mistaken, to show that you've got Bluetooth connection. If there's anything I've forgotten, let me know. The speaker's there. I sure wish that speaker was a little bigger. I'll cover that when I go over the old earlier Tascam DR100. It had a nice big speaker right on the front. So, and as I mentioned, you can use one of the, there's a couple different Atmos devices, a company called Atmos, that you can use to Bluetooth timecode to this wirelessly. Tascam didn't offer any kind of built-in timecode, which would be a game changer if they did, if this generated and read timecode, but it doesn't, I'm sorry, but you can use one of the Atmos devices to Bluetooth timecode to it so that you can use this with timecode, but you need to get not only the little chip, the remote chip that goes in there, but also obviously one of the Atmos devices, and there's a few to choose from. But then you can go in the setup menu here and adjust that to recognize incoming timecode, and you will see that on the screen. You can click back and forth between your timer and SMPTE timecode on the screen as well. I just wish it kind of came with it. You didn't have to buy the extra devices. I know there's a lot of cables and connectors here, and it's all a bit overwhelming. The good news is that it's not that much money to get all these and really make your Portacapture all it can be. Most of them will also work with other field recorders as well. If you'd like me to send you a list with all these exact item numbers, just click the link below so I can email it to you directly and save you a lot of time and research. Mahalo as always for watching, and I appreciate the interest and support. Aloha from Hilo, Hawaii. Shoots!